well. Paul's got access to all those and I don't. So are we ready to formally get started? So So officially, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so happy you're here. And we are just I want to let you know that if you want to share this out, or if you know people who wanted to be here and couldn't, we're recording this and we will let people know where it's posted afterwards. For two reasons. Number one, you could go back and listen to it again, and the Akashic Records experience that we're going to do, you could dive back into that again later. And also you can share it with other people for this. So, wonderful. So here we are today for our presentation that we're calling What's New in the Akashic Records. And by way of introduction, because not all of you know us, my name is Holly Hawkins Marwood, and this is my husband.
Hi, everyone. I'm Paul Marwood.
And together our business is called Soul Genesis. But what we're here really focused on today is one aspect of our business, which is the Akashic Records. I have been an international Akashic Records instructor and reader. I'm in my 10th. I think we just started our 10th year of working in the Akashic Records professionally. So it's we didn't even have a celebration for that yet, did we?
No,
but
it's been too busy.
we should have a celebration for that. 10 years is a good long time. But more than anything else, speaking for myself, and Paul will share about himself in a moment, is I am so passionate about the Akashic Records as a tool that really supports us in embodying our light, feeling good about ourselves. How many of us really are ready to feel good about ourselves, right? We're like, anyone else feel that you are over healing your wounds? I can raise my hand big on that one, right? And we get it. We have ways that we don't feel quite perfect or insufficient, or we feel that things that have happened to us earlier in our life are holding us back. I get that. But the ultimate goal of all of this is to really discover who are we and where's that light, feeling totally comfortable and aligned with, I am this amazing being of light who's here on the planet to share my gifts, to learn and grow even more. And the Akashic Records is an incredible tool to help us do that. I personally believe that it's one of our greatest tools at our disposal these days to heal and release. But I like to focus on how am I understanding myself and how am I getting aligned with my highest potential? And it's an incredible tool for that. But I want to give Paul a chance to talk about himself as well here, because he and I both work in the records and we have a different relationship, but equally meaningful.
I mean, I guess for me, I used to be an engineer, so I kind of have the more logical, sort of practical, give me the nuts and bolts, what I need to do. And I have to say, again, I've been an international Akashic Records instructor and reader now for nearly 10 years as well. And I love going into the Akashic Records and getting advice to help me. It's practical information that can help me personally, help guide me with regards to our business. Holly and I do these little fun things regularly where we both have some questions about our business. For example, what should we do with the next events, or blah, blah, blah. And we create the same set of questions essentially, and we go into the separate spaces and we go into our records, and then we come back together again after we've got out of our records, and we share the information. And more often than not, it's worded slightly differently, but exactly the same information. So it's consistent, it's grounded, it's also the right information in talking about me, for me, because it's coming from my guidance from my soul. So whereas when I get information from other sources, it may be aligned with that other source, but not for me. So I love that it's kind of really practical, and it's beneficial, and it's uplifting. You get to see your life from this soul perspective, which is really uplifting, and it's positive. We can have so much negative in our lives, and to be able to get this beautiful guidance that really just sees you in your light. It's like having your own cheerleading team, one might say.
So thank you. So one of the things that we want to present today is a lot about what I like to do is we'll explain what the Akashic Records are for those of you who aren't completely clear on it. But there's also some ways that I consider the understanding about the Akashic Records outmoded. And it's not that those understandings aren't correct, but they're sort of vestiges of older time energies. And what we now know and understand about the Akashic Records and how we can work in them has really expanded, and we'll explain that mini historical perspective about why it's expanded and how it can be used so much more effectively for each and every one of us. I just want everyone to know also that after we share all of our sort of demystifying and what really is new, it's really about a new perspective and a new way to orient yourself using the Akashic Records. You will have a guided experience in your own Akashic Records today. And some of you may have been maybe seasoned veterans at that, and we'll show you the way that we're now currently accessing the Akashic Records and working in that space. And take everyone on a guided experience, breaking into it and really feeling the environment of the Akasha and literally what we vibrate and entrain to while we're in there. So before you leave today, you will definitely have opened your Akashic Records and had that initial guided experience in there.
How cool is that if you've never been in your Akashic Records? And everyone can do it.
And yeah, and that's what you're going to hear from us. There's been so much mystery around the Akashic Records and the idea that, oh, I'm not spiritually advanced enough, I'm not psychic enough, I'm not intuitive enough, I'm not spiritually far enough along on my path, I need to do a lot more. I hear that all the time from people who we teach. And the truth is, you have a soul. And if you have a soul, you have an Akashic Record. Everyone has an Akashic Record, whether they believe in it or not. That's the fun thing. But you absolutely have a right to interface in that arena. And that is a big part of my message. You've got what it takes to do this. Absolutely. Everyone who has a desire and is willing to practice absolutely can do this. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. You can hear that I just get super excited about this. And we do want to let you know, especially if you're on Zoom, if you have a question while we're going along, feel free to pop it into the chat if you like. We will take a couple of little pauses to answer a few questions. And then, are there other places that people are watching this that they can ask questions as well?
Yes, it's streaming live on YouTube and our Soul Genesis Facebook site. So for all of those, I've got all that all connected together.
Okay,
YouTube
great.
And Facebook. So
if you're
away there as
watching it elsewhere, please feel free to type any questions or responses that you have in the chat, and we'd love to answer as many as we can during the time we have together. So let's just sort of ground ourselves in the same foundational information. As I mentioned already, the Akashic Records have always been here. This is not new. Now, many of us are newly waking up to the idea of what it is and that we can access it. We can support the development of our understanding of ourselves and our lives with it, but it's not new. And the truth is that as human beings, we've had awareness around the Akashic Records since even as far back as the 1800s. Although in that time period, it was more about special people who were accessing the Akashic Records, people like Madame Blavatsky and Rudolf Steiner. And then, we move forward a little bit and we get to, somebody that many of us have heard about, and many of you may have studied, Edgar Cayce. And yet with all those experiences, people are kind of opening up to the idea that there's this thing called the Akashic Records, but many of the people at that time were considered spiritually elite, and it wasn't for everyone. Okay, but then we move forward in time. Okay, so this is like mini historical perspective. So, we're waking up to the idea that there is this thing called the Akashic Records. But then in the 1980s, around the time of the harmonic convergence, and some of you who are more astrologically related, like Tiffin here, she probably really has a good handle on what that meant. I don't, except I know that there were just a lot of special planetary alignments that were opening us up to new potential. Right? Is that right, Tiffin? Sort of. But what happened in that time period is it's like a bunch of ways started coming to people to open up into the Akashic records. And very often they look like prayers, or they were prayers. And so it's sort of like the beginning of the season of what's called the sacred prayer tradition within the Akashic records. So there are many prayers out on the planet right now. And there are also many ways to access it. There are people who've been in the Akashic records, having a Reiki session, or they're meditating, or they're in a hypnosis session. There are all kinds of ways that people connect inadvertently and intentionally into the Akashic records. I've had many students in my classes say, oh, wait, this is the Akashic records. I've been here before. I just didn't know that that's what it was. They could actually feel the similarity of the energy in that space. So since the 80s, again, what's happening with the sacred prayer tradition is that the Akashic records, the understanding of it and the ability to work in it now is coming down to the everyday person like us, right? We don't have to be, we're all special, but we don't have to be, some spiritually elite person. If we have an interest and we have a desire, we can get in there. And these different prayers, invocations, or methods that people use to access the Akashic records are ways that we can start to see our capability and our, basically our right to be in there to talk to our soul. Now, so the Akashic records, it's always important to bring this up. This is not related to any religion or religious thought form. The Akashic records just are. And so let's just break that down for a moment. So let's look at the word Akasha, which is the root of Akashic. And Akasha itself is a Sanskrit word, and it means primordial substance or ether. And so the idea of this, it's an energy field that exists throughout everything. It's highly refined, and what it does is it's such a sensitive field of energy. It records anything that happens in or on that field of energy. So as we're coming down into this planetary dimension and we're having experiences, right? We're maybe back in the day, let's pick on the 1800s again, just because I brought it up before. Maybe we were a farmer somewhere. We're just living our lives. We don't know anything about the Akashic records, but everything we're doing, thinking, and feeling is getting recorded on this highly refined energetic field that we're all immersed in all the time. So our soul, throughout its journey of coming to this planet, having experiences, going back and then, coming back and forth, we have this record that's been created. Okay. So again, everyone has an Akashic record. You don't have to believe in it. It's not a belief system. It just is. Now, some of us then wake up to and get to the place where we're a little bit curious about, what else is going on here, and how can I help myself get over patterns that I feel stuck in, or there must be something more. So some of us wake up to the fact that maybe there's something more, and that's often when we end up encountering and discovering the possibilities by working in the Akashic records. Historically, what people have believed about the Akashic records is it's a repository of our past life. So we just need to go find out what's going on in there. Like, and so very often people, not as much now, but when we first started out, people would often say, so can you just tell me what, get, who was I and when was I and what job did I have and who was I married to? It's like an information model, right? We want to go in and we want to understand what's like ourselves from a chronological point of view, and to know that we were a farmer, as I said, or maybe we were a parent, or maybe we were a high level political figure, or maybe we were a spiritual leader. And so we get all this data, and that's initially what a lot of us believed, and many people still do today, about the Akashic records. I just can go in and I can get this accounting of my past lives. And the truth is, you could do that, but it's not going to help you very much, will it? It'll give you data. It might be interesting. I always like to make the joke that, your next cocktail party, even though we're not doing parties right now, you can start sharing with people, what,
I was Cleopatra and I was King Tut. And
right. You can talk about all the lives you've had. But the truth is, the Akashic records really is a dimension that can help us change and transform. And knowledge and information doesn't help us change and transform. It gives us more knowledge and information. And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But as we work in the Akasha, what we want to understand is this is our history, and we can connect to it from our soul's point of view. And working in the Akasha gives us so much more than data. So let's talk about the fact that the Akashic record, it transcends time. It's in the quantum field. So your past is in there. Your current is in there, your current timeline, but also your future potentials. Only your potentials, because nothing's set in stone. And so what that brings us to is this idea that the Akashic records can really help guide us forward, but without it being predictive, like, oh, yes, I'm going to do this at a certain time. It supports us in trusting that inner wisdom within us and flowing in a way that is aligned with our soul's choice to be us. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the Akashic records?
Yeah, Holly's actually covered a lot of the material I was actually going to share in the Akashic records.
Sorry.
But that's okay. So, I mean, essentially, as you know, the Akashic records have been in existence since we've existed, and it records everything. So the wonderful thing about this from a practical sense is that, ultimately, you're watching this today saying, what's in it for me? How can I benefit from this? And honestly, the thing that is so powerful about it is you can start to tap into the wisdom of your soul through all of its ages. So this is not just past life stuff and gathering information like Holly said. But if you can imagine that you were a healer, you were a financial person, you were a lord, you were a street sweeper, so to speak, you can start to tap into the wisdom of your soul from all of those lifetimes to help you right now today in really practical ways. So we would go to a financial expert to give us financial advice. Well, sure, we can do that, but you can also tap into the financial expertise of your own, soul from earlier lifetimes. So it's really powerful in that area. Again, as Holly mentioned before, this really is available to everyone. It's not just for the spiritually elite or spiritually advanced. When we do the classes, I can say with complete confidence, pretty much everybody gets it. And the one or two people that feel they aren't getting it, with a bit of practice, they just got to get out of their own way. They're really kind of just struggling with it within themselves, but they already are there, and the proof of the pudding is when we do the practical exercises, they get some really good information. So that kind of proves that they're in their records. So it really is an incredible resource for all of us. And the Akashic records is a dimension to connect with your soul level truth. This really is something, most of us say, what is my soul purpose? Or I'd like to be guided in my life a bit more to be aligned with my soul purpose. what a perfect method the Akashic Records are to be able to connect with your soul, connect with the wisdom of your soul, and tap into that in real time, practical information to help you right now, today, to be aligned with your soul purpose. And you don't need to go and see someone else to say, you know, what's my soul purpose? You know, that's fun to do that, but you can do it as well yourself by going into your Akashic Records. So, you know, and it's really not just an information source, it's a transformational source, you know, because you start to get it. You start to get how incredible you are, how incredible your soul is. You know, you start to understand you've had many lifetimes, and how you gathered knowledge, how you really have made so many achievements. And when you really start to understand that, you can admire yourself so much more. You know, many of us really are literally our own worst judges. So, you know, when you start to see the perfection and incredibleness of who you are in your Akashic Records, you go, wow, I get it. I really am. I've done a lot and I'm here. And the records will help you gather your gifts and tools that you have here now to help you in this lifetime and shine in those ways. So,
one of the things I like to talk about with the Akashic Records is, and maybe you're getting a sense of this already, is that when you go into your Akashic Records, yes, you have a soul guidance team that's like your spirit team that's in there that's specifically guiding you, your soul, on its journey to fulfill your soul's growth, the expanded awareness. But one of the ways that you're really working and connecting in is you're talking to yourself. You're talking to that deep inner aspect of yourself that already knows that you're beautiful, that you're healed, that you're right, that you're aligned, that you're going to be successful in all the ways that you desire. So when you're in your Akashic Records, that part of you, your soul, your higher self, you're connecting to that, and it holds the wisdom of who you are. And as you're in there, what you're resolving is this: we have some human experiences, don't we? They're not always that comfortable. We might see some areas of greatness that we're wanting to expand even more. And what is happening in here is, as you're working in the records and you are aligning with more of the soul level truth versus what we do in our human experiences, we really identify with our human experiences, right? And the truth is, those both exist at the same time. We have our human experiences that can be a roller coaster, but we also have this light and truth of who we are at our core. So we get to see and reframe and understand ourselves, not only from our human perspective, but also begin to bring in that soul level perspective, that highest potential perspective, and allow that to be more fully engaged in our life and transform us so that we can have a different human experience. So I'm going to just pause for a moment because we've been talking a lot here. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into either wherever you are listening to this in one of the chats, and we'd love to answer your questions when we get there.
I guess one of the things I also want to touch on is, you know, this whole thing about past lives, you know, and, you know, we seem to have this general philosophy about, you know, you're going into your Akashic Records to learn all about your past. Well, you know, yes, that's true. But remember, the records are actually timeless. And you can not only gather information and wisdom from the past to help you now, but you can also get information from the present. And there are also potentials in the future. So the future is not set in stone, because we do have free will. So, you know, we can change timelines, we can change potentials by making significant major decisions. But, you know, it's really, you can use this and I encourage you not to look at it as just a past life piece, because you can actually tap into, Holly and I've done experiments where we're tapping into, say, a future business self of Holly, and I'm reading her future business self in her records to help guide us with questions that we need that might be business oriented. So, you can utilize that. Because the records are timeless, time doesn't work so well on the records. So you can't say, will we get this deal in 6 months' time? So if you put a time part on it, that bit doesn't work very well, because it's more oriented to your soul. What do you want to achieve in this lifetime, so to speak? But the wonderful thing about this also is that when we're going into the Akashic Records, commonly when I'm doing readings for clients, we do go into past lives. When I'm doing the readings, for example, I don't get to control where we go. This is part of the soul guidance team, which we'll talk a little bit more on. But, they will move us to, say, the source of whatever it is that you want, wishing to talk about or work on or heal or whatever it may be. And it takes us to that source. The wonderful thing about that is we don't have to worry about, are we in the right place? It's literally like you and I going to the library saying, I want to know, I'd like to have a book about horses. You don't have to look through the whole library and try and find the animal section. And, the librarian knows, and this is your soul guidance team. So they will take you directly to the information that you need right there that's relevant. So it makes it easier for you and I, in what we're doing. And so you're in that space where, they will do the work for you to help bring you to the right place in your, one would say, timeline or past lives. That information comes forward. You understand it, but there's a much bigger piece than that, because there's an energy aspect in that as well. And so that really, there's an energy piece that helps with this healing within the Akashic Records to help you in that piece of information that you're dealing with in that moment. So, and really the wonderful thing about our soul guidance team is they're, when we say incredible librarians, and the lords of the records, they're all incredible librarians, one might say, to bring the appropriate information forward to help you right now. And there's also a big part in that that's healing. So just, to recap on that, I can speak for myself personally. I've had some major healings just in a single Akashic record reading, stuff that's affected me significantly in all of my life. And then I do a single sort of 45-minute reading, which usually Holly for myself or me for Holly. In those types of things, we tend to do it for each other. And just major shifts happen just right then and there, and that's where this energy part comes in. So the information's great, the mind understands it, but the energy part is a huge piece in it as well.
It's actually more important than the information, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so I touched on this before, and I want to just bring up, we're very conditioned to in humanity, and this is, part of our awakening to begin to understand more, is that we want to go into the Akashic Records often to say, but I want to understand this. And are these things going to happen in my lifetime? Am I going to get married, or am I going to have children, or am I going to be successful in my business, or whatever it might be? Or will I ever get over my health issues? As if there's going to be a date and time that is marked in time that says, oh yes, on this date at this time, these things are going to happen. The truth is, and Paul's already mentioned this before, we have free will. And so one of the things about the Akashic Records is it's not predictive. It's not predictive. Now, that means we're not going to go in and be able to find out. I've had people say, so can you tell me when I'm going to die? It must be written in my records. There's certain things that we just don't get to know. We have to live our life fully and be in that place of feeling empowered in each and every moment, right? Doesn't that make sense? If we're empowered and feeling great now. And then we have a tool to help us feel great and even better tomorrow and the next day and the next day. The future does take care of itself when we're empowered and aligned and feeling that we're on track in any given moment. We don't worry about the future as much as we tend to now. So very often when people want to ask predictive questions, first of all, you're not going to get a good satisfactory answer in the Akashic records. But what we want to do is look at usually these questions come out of a strong desire that we have, something we really want to experience in this lifetime, one way or the other. And so if we want to experience in our life, what we want to do is say, what am I really asking this for? And, I just want to know that I'm going to have that special person. Or I want to know that this dream of mine to really help and impact other people through the work I do is really going to manifest. So the Akashic records can help us manifest our dreams so that all that we're desiring, that we feel called to be, we can line up with that and have it successful. And we don't need to know if it's going to happen. We just have to trust that that desire that feels so strong within us is there for a reason. Doesn't that make sense? If we have a desire and we say, okay, you know what, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to decide that my desire means something and that I'm not going to feel satisfied without manifesting it. So let's decide that, okay, take that as truth. And now let's find a way to make that happen. And that's what you do in the Akashic records, one moment at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time. That's how you manifest the future. So when people don't always like it when they hear, oh, it's not predictive, it's not going to tell me what's going to happen. If you align with your soul and your truth in an authentic way today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day, your future is going to feel good or even better than you could imagine it if you are soul aligned and feeling on purpose and understanding yourself in each and every moment. Okay. So it's really important to understand that. And again, not predictive. I want somebody to tell me that I'm going to be okay and I'm going to be happy. Well, we don't need somebody else to discover that for us. Working in the Akashic records is a way for us to finally feel empowered because we're sourcing our information from ourselves. It's not that, somebody else told me this is going to happen and somebody else predicted this is going to happen in that timeline. Maybe it's going to happen, maybe not. But when we feel like we've got the tool to line up to create the future that we want, then we know we're going to get there. And we don't have to hope that that predictive question is going to come to pass. What about all that time between now and when that prediction is supposed to happen? We wait for it to happen, but we want to be empowered to make sure that it happens to the best of our ability. I hope that makes sense to you, because I find it very freeing to move away from predictive questions and get into that place where I actually feel that my thoughts, my feelings, my actions are so aligned with my highest potential. I now know how to take my step forward today and tomorrow and the next day from my source that's very unique to me, because each and every one of you are very unique. Your story isn't like anyone else's. You're here to shine your light in your unique way. And you want to tap into that, don't you? You want to tap into you and feel like I'm on fire because I've tapped into that passion and that purpose that I'm here for. And I know I can shine it. And you have a tool to tap into how that's possible for you.
And again, just expanding on that piece where I talked about, it's not just information, and there's the energy part as well. How many of you have gone onto Google and typed something in to get an answer and read the answers on Google and suddenly you were healed and fixed? So anybody? I'm not seeing too many hands. So, okay, so that's kind of proof that, information is great. It can help us and it helps us on the journey. And yes, it's true. And to a degree, we can learn and heal and grow from that information. But the greater universe, everything is connected. So what the Akashic Records is helping us to do is start to embody that connection of not only information, but the energy and the illumination and the flow of all of it and how it's all connected. So the energy part works with you in the Akashic Records to help you as well. It's like this double team of support to be able to make those changes happen. So, and it's in that interaction that we're dealing with both. And I'll be honest, quite often when we're in the Akashic Records, we're getting information and we're not that aware of the energy part. But over the years, it's just so obvious that it's a big part of what's happening and how it's, in the case, shifting me or shifting my clients. So you could say it's like a silent partner. It's there in the background. Some people will sense it. Some people will feel it. The truth is, when you look at the results afterwards, how you know how you felt change, the worries, the fears of something you're working on, just that volume of worry or concern or fear just gets turned down many levels on the volume level, one might say. So you're aware of it, but it doesn't become so dominating or powerful in your life. So really, it's the combination of the information and the energy working at once. And the energy has helped shifting you and I, shifting our vibration, shifting our consciousness, shifting our awareness, shifting our perceptions. So as it's really working with the vibration of who we are, the information really is just coming in at the mind level to help the mind understand the conscious. But the vibration, the energy is what's really working with us in the greater wholeness of who we are. And that combination is way more powerful than Google, one might say, as far as what we're talking about here. Other things aside, of course, Google's very powerful, but yeah.
So one of the things that I want to answer a question that came in also, and somebody's asking about, what's the age limit, and they have a child who's dealing with fear and anxiety and wanting to know how they could help their child. And this is so important, isn't it? And even if we especially look at our world today, the world is different at the moment, and our children really are, some of them are having a tough time. So here's what we recommend about working on behalf of our children or grandchildren, or if you're a teacher, or if you're an aunt, or if you're a good friend, a godparent. It doesn't matter. If you have children in your life, this is what we recommend. You want to go into your records and ask how you can best support them, what you can do to get, because you as that adult, like in the case of a parent for a child, you're the adult. So you're going to be making the decisions and creating the conditions for them to have the best experience. So we always recommend that if you are the adult, go into your records and find out how you can best support your child with what they're dealing with right now. And that is going to be your most powerful way of supporting them, because it's about your records, but it's including your relationship to them as that guide, as that parent or the grandparent. What can I do to support them? That is what I've found to be the most potent way to help, because the truth is these children are young and they are growing up. And they don't necessarily have the capacity to really understand and work in this dimension as effectively as we can as adults. So let's be the adult. That's kind of how I think of it. Oh, I'm the one who's in charge of this situation in my role as a parent until they're at their age of majority. So that's what we suggest. Okay, so I've got questions coming in here. I love this. Yes, absolutely. yes, we can definitely help our pets. Let's just jump to that section. Shall we just jump ahead right now? We're going to just move aside. We'll come back to some of the other things that we wanted to talk about. The Akashic records are so much more than a resource for humans. They're amazing for humans. But the truth is, everything has an Akashic record. So your pets have an Akashic record. Now, working in the Akashic records is always permission based, and we won't go into all of that today, but you do need to ask permission. But absolutely, your pet has an Akashic record. Most pets will give you permission. Very occasionally, they don't want you to do it, but most of the time they do, because the way we look at it is in the communication between our animals and ourselves, usually we're the place where the information slows down. They're usually much better at communicating with us than we are in communicating with them. So very often they're excited to have this way to communicate with us. And then we can understand, maybe why they do that weird behavior. And I've done some really interesting readings around pets who had some behaviors that the humans decided, oh, they're doing that for these reasons. Okay, they're applying their logic. And it turns out the motivation of the pet was completely different. And what happens with that is then now the adult understands it from the pet's perspective, and they can work it out differently. So it's very powerful to work with pets. And if you're somebody who's an animal communicator, we've had a lot of animal communicators learn to read the Akashic records, and it just up levels your ability to communicate and interact and expand with that. The age of majority it's different in different countries, but when somebody's considered an adult, in the United States is 18. Now, most everything is 18, right? In the United States, it's also like you can't drink till you're 21, but the age of majority where you're considered an adult is 18. And so the ideal thing is to allow children to just grow up and be kids, and then you support them. And then when they're at that age of majority, then they can move into that realm if they desire. The thing that's really important about this is not to be exclusive about children, but the truth is they may not understand what they're doing. So you may have a desire for them to open their Akashic records, but they may not know and understand that yet. Now, I know there's some really special, amazing, connected kids out there who might have that capacity, but by and large, most kids are still just growing up, and they aren't necessarily choosing. Remember, it's very permission based. So if they don't know what they're giving themselves permission for, like, oh, honey, can I open your Akashic records? They don't know. They're going to say yes because you've asked them to, or they want you to feel happy and they know that you desire it. So the idea is when they're at that age of majority, that's a better time for them to choose to open the records where they're in their place of choice around it. And so that's what we would recommend. And if you want to help your older children, assuming they're adults, again, even as an adult, even to this day, I have adult children and I have grandchildren, and I would still to this day, if I want to help them, if I have an adult child, if they haven't asked me, I'm not opening their records. It's not my place to do that unless they ask. Now, I can still, even if they're adults, go into my records and say, oh, I'm really worried and concerned about them. I really want to help them. What's the best thing I can do? That's putting me in an empowered place, in the best place for me to support them. And then if they ask, and some, but not all of my children have asked, I've done lots of readings for my children. And, but that's in a place where they ask and say, hey, I've got some questions. Can we look at it in the Akashic records? But again, that's their permission, their choice, they're engaged. They want that level of interaction and understanding about themselves. Now, what about the people in our lives who we know this would be so good for if they would just agree to it? Right? We've all been there, right? Like, I know this would help you so much. If they're not ready for it, we're not going to force it on them. Right? We're going to let them come to it. And in the meantime, we create the space, we create the opening by working with ourselves in the Akashic records. And, I say this when we teach often, if you have somebody in your life that you think you just need to fix them with an Akashic record reading and they're not agreeing to it, then you need to go into your records and say, so why is it that I won't let this go? And how can I get into a place of better understanding or calmness or acceptance within myself, regardless of where they're at? Because we always want to respect people where they're at on their journey, regardless of where we want them to be at in their journey. And if it's going to be the right time and place for them, it's going to be the right time and place. And you've already created a container that's positive and supportive that they know they can step into at the right time. So, excuse me.
And Valerie just mentioned one last one down the bottom there. So, do you want to just talk about that? Okay.
So there's a question about a 16-and-a-half-year-old daughter. That's something that, Valerie, we could talk to you about separately. It's, to me, the easiest frame of reference is 18, but there's a lot of really amazing kids that I wouldn't necessarily say no to, as long as they're old enough to really understand what they're doing and they're in their own place of choice around it. So when you get into teenagers, to be honest, I view it as a very specific circumstance that there might be some teenagers who are ready to do that, but I don't make it a carte blanche statement, because not everyone wants to or is ready to of their own free will and choice.
And I think the truth of the matter is we all know that as time goes by, the souls that are coming to the earth are not being wiped like they used to be. So you've got children now.
Do you want to explain wiped?
Okay, so sorry, I'll take a step back. Essentially what happens is the soul, when we come down to the earth, we are, one would say, like given a clean slate to start off with. So we don't have the remembrances of all of our past lives and the knowledge of all of our existences of our soul. And so, but as time's changing, children are coming in, souls are coming in with partial or no wipe, as I would say, in the sense, and you see that at evidence, a child that's 6 years old and she's a concert pianist and she's playing music and playing and doing moves, complicated moves on a keyboard that no one's taught her. Well, of course, because she remembers from earlier lifetimes, so because she's been that in an earlier lifetime. So this, answering the question about children and doing records, there's kids now are more advanced. And so, you as a parent, when you understand that they get it, they know what they're dealing with, and some of your children, we've had clients where a 4-year-old said, Mum, you need to go into your Akashic records, then you can understand what our relationship is, and when you've got a kid like that, it's like, okay, here's a more advanced. So that's where this whole hard and fast rule isn't really a hard and fast rule. So.
Right. But by and large, the Akashic records is an empowering tool for ourselves to have a really positive relationship with the people in the world around us and guide our lives. And that's a great anchor point to start working in our records, because the truth is, I'm just going to use Paul as an example. If, we're married, and if I say, oh my gosh, if he would just change, I could be happy. So I just need to go into his records. Like, just let me go in your records and find out what's wrong with you. And as soon as we know what's wrong with you, now we can move forward. And, so the focus is all on him and what's wrong. And like, that really doesn't go very well, does it? It doesn't help. And then if I say, can we just open your records? And he says, what is that crazy stuff you're doing? I don't want to have anything to do with it. And then we get all these problems because he doesn't want to align. And like, okay, so what if he's at the exact right place of where he needs to be right now? right?
Woo-hoo.
And what if I'm in the exact right place where I need to be right now? So I can use the Akashic records to say, how can I be at peace in our relationship where he's in his place and I'm in mine? And then a lot of that tension falls away. We don't need to be clones. I get to be where I am and he gets to be where he is. Now, here's the thing that always stops people. Okay. So this is so good because we all have people in our life who we wish they would be different, right? Raise your hand if you like, if they just would do this differently or they would understand it from my point of view. We all have people we want to align with us. If they could just see it our way, everything would be better. So I'm going to ask you this question. Think of that person. If they would just change, I'd get to be more comfortable with them.
Happier, more comfortable.
Okay. Now, are you willing right now to become like them? Are you willing to change yourself? If, using my very dramatic example, if Paul said, I don't want to be like you. I don't want to do those crazy things that you do. You just be like me. Would I be willing? Would I be able to do that? I wouldn't be able to do that because I'm at where I'm at. I love the things I love. I can't change to become him so he feels comfortable. But often we want other people to change so we get to feel comfortable. So we want to just really be able to be in this honoring place about who we are and really anchor that confidence of who we are. And allow that to come through in every way we express ourselves, through the way we walk, the way we look, the way we talk, the way we share our gifts in the world. And that confidence means we're aligned with our truth. And we want the same for everyone else in our lives, right? Again, they don't have to be clones of us. We want people to be lined up with the truth of who they came in to be. And so we can come to peace by using the Akashic records to come to peace with ourselves and understand how can I be in this place, whether they change or not, so that those people in our lives don't disrupt the expression of who we are. All right. So what we want to do before we end our call today is we want to give you an opportunity to open up your Akashic records. So what we're going to do is open up something that we've been working with for just over a year now, called the Akashic Records Nouveau Invocation. Many of you have known for that many years we had worked in a different system in the Akashic Records. And as things grow and evolve, working in the records was given a different way to access the Akashic Records. And we've been teaching this and working with this with our clients for just over a year now. And people have been having incredible experiences. And so this is what we're sharing today. To open, and this is just going to be a guided experience for yourself. So Paul's going to be putting, do you have that up on the screen yet? Okay.
No,
Paul's going to be putting it up on the screen right now. And what we're going to do is, let's just break this down for a second, is when you open into the Akashic Records, you will literally do something to open into it. And then we're going to close it. So there's an opening part of the invocation, then a closing part. When we're doing that, you can just read it to yourself. It's going to be up on the screen. You can either read it out loud or silently. It doesn't matter. Whatever you feel comfortable within. Sometimes people like to read it out loud because they feel like they can focus better. Some of you may be in a situation where you don't really want to be reading it out loud, and that's perfectly okay. So, and this is going to be a guided experience. So don't worry about what am I going to do when I get in there. Just relax, and you're going to be guided through this experience. The intention is to break you into this space, to allow you to feel this space, because one of the things that we haven't shared with you yet is the Akasha is a field literally of unconditional love. It's not just an idea, it's the reality of this field. And so what happens in the space of unconditional love is all judgment goes away. And listen, as humans, we have lots of that, don't we?
It's a cool space to be in. Yeah.
And so, I mean, the judgment that we hold against ourselves about what we're doing that we shouldn't be doing, what we aren't doing that we should be doing, like all the things that we hold against ourselves, they fall away. So it's a field of understanding, love, and compassion. It is not judgmental. And when we're in there, you're going to be guided to connect with your soul guidance team. This is your specific spirit team to your Akashic records. You may work with angels and spirit guides and ascended masters and different flows of energy. All of that is great, but you also have your specialty team in the Akashic records that's guiding your awakening at your soul level. So you're going to be guided to connect with them. Listen, they know you already. They've already been guiding you the whole time. Okay. So who's the new kid on the block? You're the new kid on the block, establishing that conscious, intentional connection with them because they've already been working on your behalf forever. Okay. But now what you're doing is opening the records to say, hey, I know you've been here. Now I want to really consciously, intentionally work with you to expand and accelerate and deepen what is possible in this space. Okay.
And hopefully that answers your question. If I'm pronouncing it right, Baloma. So it's your soul guidance team. So hopefully that answers your question there, even though you may not be aware, but that I think is a good answer to your question.
So let's do this. So just get yourself nice and relaxed and let's just take a breath for a moment, close our eyes down. You'll open them again in a moment to read the invocation, but you've been listening to all this information. Let's just kind of let the mind settle for a moment. Close your eyes and let's take a nice, beautiful in-breath. Feel your body's response to the in-breath. Your chest expanding. Relax your abdomen so it expands as well. And release your breath out, coming present to yourself. You can feel the energy in your head from all the thinking and listening you've been doing, and allow that energy to just kind of slide down into the space of your heart. Because we are about to connect with that field of unconditional love. So let's drop into our heart to start with that. And as we pay attention to our breath and close our eyes down and pay attention to our heart, we really come present to our now moment. We're not thinking about the past. We're not projecting into the future. We're just here now. It always feels so good and relaxing to do that. And so pay attention to your jaw and just relax it. Maybe open your mouth just slightly, relax your tongue, dropping your shoulders. And from this place where we take that moment to center on ourselves, let's open our eyes and you can look at the screen. And let's read this opening invocation together. I fully and completely open to the true source that flows through every aspect of all that is. I trust my connection to divine source and know that the love, light, and truth of who I am, my experiences, and my understandings remain unbroken and everlasting throughout all time, space, dimensions, and realities. I ask, align, and open to my soul guidance team to bring forth wisdom that is held in the highest and best for all. I open my heart, mind, and will to the truth in this moment. I trust that my essence flows through every experience, and I commit to discovering my divine light. In the name of all that is good, sacred, true, and soul aligned, I open the sacred space with choice, clarity, intention, and open mind and heart. And so it is. Okay. So closing your eyes down to allow the external input from your visual field to cease for a few moments. And you are in the space of your Akasha right now. And some of you may feel it. You might feel it in your emotional field. You might feel it physically. Some of you might not be aware of a shift. Let everything that you feel or not feel be perfectly okay. Everyone has a right to be here. Some people feel it and experience it more tangibly, and some people don't. It doesn't mean that you're not there. Okay. So, what we want to first do is, while we're here, just open up to this beautiful environment, the sacred environment of the Akasha, and opening awareness and feeling and possibility to the fact that you're immersed in this field of unconditional love. And unconditional love might feel big right now. So, the way unconditional love presents itself is through the energy of understanding, of compassion, of acceptance. It is the space that's free of judgment. Some of you may feel that relief and release of that freedom from judgment. This is the space where you, at your core level, you really are seen and known as a beautiful experience of your highest potential, of your soul level gifts, and of who you are becoming. Allow your breathing to just be very relaxed and full while you're here. Just we're settling in right now. Connecting consciously and intentionally, because as you've heard, you're in a sense always in your Akashic records because it's created through everything that you do. So you're always in and creating an Akashic record. Now you're choosing to consciously, intentionally be in this space. And now imagine, if you will, that your neck can turn all the way around. And behind your closed eyes, imagine yourself surveying the space you're in 360 degrees. Some of you may actually see things behind your closed eyes. Some of you may feel that you're hearing things. And more of you will have a felt sense, meaning perhaps you feel some emotions, you might feel some tingling in your physical body. Sometimes people feel just more relaxed in this moment. Allow yourself to open up to whatever you're feeling and accept that that's what it is. And now let's bring attention to your soul guidance team. Some of them have been with you from the moment you separated from Source. They're with you the entire time, all the way until you're back with Source again. And some of your soul guidance team are supporting you in the lessons, those soul level lessons of this lifetime. And some of your soul guidance team are actually those who you may have known and loved in this lifetime. But more than anything else, they're this beautiful set of energy beings who are there, and their entire focus is supporting you. They're dedicated to you and your awakening and your growth, your transformation, and you discovering the light and the truth of who you are. So as you open up to your soul guidance team, notice or feel or even imagine where they are showing up for you. Do you sense them more in front of you? Perhaps you might sense them behind you. You might sense them completely surrounding you or above you. Just notice and trust. And even if you feel like you're just imagining it and following along with the guided journey, the idea is to trust whatever's here. You're interacting with the energy of your inherent wisdom, your inherent light, your inherent truth. And you can reach out and in your mind's eye, say to your soul guidance team, I'm here. I'm ready to connect with you consciously and intentionally. I'm ready to develop a beautiful working relationship with you. And notice how you feel as you're connecting with them. Their wisdom and advice is very likely to feel like it's bubbling up from within you. Like you say, well, I think it's my thought or my feeling. That's how they operate. They're revealing you to you. And take a moment to just notice and anchor what you're feeling and experiencing. Maybe give yourself a word that or two or three that you might actually be feeling as you're in this space. It could be descriptive about how you feel in your body. Could be descriptive about how the energy feels around you. It could be descriptive of your emotions. And now what we're going to do is not ask a lot of questions. Let's just ask your soul guidance team for a one word or a few word message that is important for you to hear today, right now. And trust the first word that comes up, or the first idea or feeling. It could be a few words like a little affirmation or mantra. You might even say, but this is a word I would choose for myself. Allow their wisdom to flow to you, even if you feel like you already know it. And notice how you feel as you open up to receiving what they're sharing with you right now for this moment. Wonderful. And now let's just take a nice clearing breath in and then releasing it out. You can thank your soul guidance team, remembering that they've always been there for you. And so this is a big deal for you to go in and make that intentional connection from your side. Good job. And what we're going to do now is get ready to close the records, and we'll do this with the closing part of the invocation, and it's up on the screen now. So if everyone would like to open their eyes, and we'll read this together. Thank you to the essence of love, light, and truth that eternally supports, guides, and opens in this space and time. I open to the transformation that comes from this soul-aligned wisdom, understanding, and truth that is eternally held in the highest and best for all. May I embody and live all that I received in this moment as my new vibrational reality. I honor all my soul-level teachers and guides, seen and unseen, trusting in my conscious, intentional expansion into my highest potential. La'olam, Amen, Amen. So take a nice clearing breath for yourself. And while you're coming back, if you have something to drink or, a way that you want to feel grounded, just drinking water or something really helps us ground back into our body, or move around where you are, feel your feet on the ground. And I'd like to point out that these 3 words at the end of the invocation, La'olam, Amen, Amen, come from Aramaic, and the root of them, it means I seal this prayer in trust, faith, and truth, or I confirm with my whole being. An alternate meaning for it is like to the end of the universe of all the universes, Amen. So that's how we're closing up our time, very clearly being in the records. And what we've done is, opening the records, we're crossing that bridge from our ordinary human consciousness into our Akashic awareness. And then when we say the closing part, we're coming back from that soul level consciousness and connection, and then we're coming back to our human awareness. But what I want you to understand is that while we're in the records, we're vibrating, even if we're not doing anything in there. We're vibrating in this space and energetically aligning more closely to that highest potential and that truth of who we are. And so when we come out of the Akashic records, we're not leaving that behind. Vibrationally, we have shifted. We do not go into our records without shifting and changing. Now, what happens is in the moment, sometimes we work in the records and we say, wow, that was incredible. And then sometimes we work in the records and we say, I don't know. I'm not sure what happened there. But because of the energetic shift in the days and weeks afterwards, we can see how we might be shifting in relation to other people or circumstances or to ourselves. That's the result of the energetic shift of being in the records. So let's take another little pause and just, what was that like for you? Please feel free to write it into the chat. How did you feel? What did you notice? And what was it like to connect with your soul guidance team? And if you feel like you want to share, what little message did you get, or what word did you get that just kind of lines you up with what you need right now? We love to hear. And also, if you have any questions, we'd love to hear those as well.
Diane on one of the other platforms said, I took the Akashic Records course more than 5 years ago. How do I get the Nouveau invocation prayer? How now, or should I keep on using my existing prayer that is so much longer?
Well, so here's your choice. You have access to this right here. And so anyone could come back and watch it and screenshot it. And the truth is that, okay, let me back up a minute. I have so much to say always. Let me slow down. So, the key is you want to find what works and feels right for you. I don't believe there's one good way, on one appropriate way. Just like there are millions of people on the planet, there's just, the key is opening up and finding a way that you feel comfortable with. Should we offer this out?
If you like.
Yeah. So if you're interested in receiving a copy of the invocation, email us and we'll send it to you. And do you want to give them hello? Just write to, here's the email, and Paul will put it in the chat. Hello at soul, SOUL hyphen genesis.com. So hello, and then the at symbol, SOUL dash Genesis, GENESIS.com. And we'll send you a copy of this invocation if you like. So somebody's saying they felt deeply peaceful and in a familiar space and place. That is so great, Yoga Tara. It's so true, isn't it? That very often we feel like, oh, wait, I know this space. I feel comfortable here. I feel relaxed. Of course you do. It's your space. And now we can consciously get in there and line up with that. It's so great. Thank you for sharing. And so somebody said that they got the message to trust what they received. Absolutely. It's so interesting. I was wondering if somebody was going to talk about trust after that. So Lori's just really on track with that. That's one of the things that there are two main things about working in the Akashic Records, especially when we're new, is the Akashic Records. We all have a right to be in there. But the way I look at it is, remember, we're moving out of this Piscean age where we needed spiritual leaders to tell us what to do, when to do, how to do it, and whether we wanted to or not, right? But now we're moving into this time where we're sovereign and we get to discover ourselves and discover our truth that's right for us. And because of that, we always relied on other people telling us what to do and when to do it and how to do it. So what we need to do when we're going into this space, I believe that for most of us, we've never, as ordinary human beings right now, we haven't had an opportunity in any lifetime before now to actually access this Akashic Records for ourselves. So I personally believe that we just have to give ourselves time, trust that we can access the space. And just like if you're 4 years old and I just put a bike in front of you, all the potential is there, isn't it? And now what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to practice, but you will be able to ride your bike. Right now, if you have your bike with all that potential, but you don't use it, you're probably not going to learn to ride your bike, right? But you'll learn at the right time. So the truth is, everything that we've learned, we've had to practice at, whether it's riding our bike, whether it's speaking in front of other people, whether it's learning to program a computer, whether it's learning how to speak and write and feed ourselves when we're little, like all the things we've practiced, right? So the idea is, if you can begin trusting the space, trusting your ability to be there and be willing to practice, you will be able to absolutely use it as a really incredible personalized resource for yourself. Somebody else said they received the message to come back soon. How nice. Like that, you got an open door invitation. I love that. And somebody else said they felt warm, grounded, and a gut feeling with no words. Absolutely. Sometimes we just feel it in our bodies. So often people feel like, oh, if I'm going in there, I have to hear things. I'm going to hear like a booming voice of God in my head, right? It's going to sound and feel like you most of all, because you're talking to you. So we want to allow that what's bubbling up from within us, that we trust that, even if they're things that we already know. What we can do is celebrate that and go, woohoo, I just got something that I already knew. That means I'm tapped into exactly the direction I need to go. And now I can trust that in my own life. So somebody else said, focus on the task at hand. That is so important, isn't it? Right? When we're focused, we get to achieve. So this is so great. Thank you so much for your sharing. I love it. It's so exciting.
There's a just from the people on YouTube. Soferia said the word given to me is celebratory, meaning one used or intended to publicly acknowledge a significant or happy day or event, and two, feeling or expressing happiness and pride. So love it. Absolutely perfect. And Natasha's just caught it at the end, so she's excited to go back to the replay and go back in and do the records. And so I'm still fairly new at all, but definitely need to ground myself at this time. I'm 40 weeks pregnant. Congratulations. Woohoo.
Well, any minute now.
Yeah. With my so due with my first tomorrow. Wow. Woo.
Wow, congratulations.
So thank you ahead of time for this guided entry. So how cool would that be when you're just there nursing to be able to go into your records and just be there with your loved new little one. So
yeah, just coming earthside again. Listen.
Yeah.
Just again, they're great souls that come in little bodies, right? So so here's what we want to share at the end of this. This is our new method of working in the Akashic Records, having great success with it. We taught people in Japan with it already. Everyone we're introducing this to is having such a great time with this. We do have a course coming up, and it's our Akashic Records Nouveau Foundation course. And it's where we do a way deeper dive than what we did in this short period of time, where you're going to learn and practice working in your records. You're going to learn and practice working in the records of other people. You're going to learn and practice, have experiences opening up the records of your home, your business, your pets, things like that. It is such a powerful resource to be applied in so many different ways. As you heard Paul mention, we use it for our business all the time. If you're an entrepreneur and you feel like you're all alone in your business, tap into the Akashic Records of your business, because it wants to share with you and support you. You didn't just create your business, you birthed another being who wants to interact with you and share with you. It's so powerful. You will have lots of experience in your own records and other people's records. We're going to give you a lot of guidance on how to get confident quickly. In all my years teaching the Akashic Records, I'll tell you what I've noticed is that you can be given a tool, but you need to be given a framework on how to use the tool successfully, right? So let's just play this one out. If I just gave you a table saw, Okay. Now, Paul, if I gave him a table saw, he doesn't need the directions. He could just run with it. If somebody gave me a table saw, I'd say, this is cool. I get all the potential. I don't know how to use it. Right. So what you want to do is have somebody show you what to do and how to do it so that you can successfully work with that table saw or whatever it might be. So one of the things that I've noticed over the years is that people can say, well, I have my Akashic records, but I don't really know what to do with it. So what we believe is that you're going to continue doing it is if you know how to work in the Akashic records to get confident quickly, so that like, if I do these things in these incremental ways, I'm doing the right practice quickly. So I'm going to trust the space as quickly as I can. So we're going to be doing some experiences with that. You're also going to have this incredible 36-page manual with everything that you need. You can go back and refer to. And so the class is going to be next weekend and the following weekend. And because many of us are a little Zoom fatigued, and we totally understand that, we're doing half days on Saturday and Sunday, March 6th and 7th, and then 13th and 14th. So we're breaking it up so you're not sitting in front of your computer for so many hours. So digestible amounts. And
for those of you in Switzerland and Sweden, places like Europe, it's 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific. So it's your evenings. It's not too ridiculous late for Europe as well. So,
and if you can't sign up, if you can't be there for absolutely everything, we will be recording it. The caveat is that you'll need to understand is if you can't be there for the whole thing, you're going to need to let us know, because we do shared experiences. And we didn't need to know if you're going to be there or not for the shared experiences, so that we know how to
we can match people
pair
up.
people up appropriately.
Yeah.
But we do want to make it easy for you to access and participate in this. We feel like this is such an incredible tool for people to use to support themselves in their awakening, their releasing of old outmoded patterns that no longer serve them, and to really, you're here to discover your light and shine it. And that's what we want to support everyone to do.
Yeah. And the wonderful thing too is, as I say, the recordings are going to be available. So if you can make it live, wonderful. If you can't, that's wonderful too. But more importantly, 6 months down the track, if life's come in and you've been busy and you want to just come back and refresh, you can jump back on again, look at the aspects of the course and refresh yourself at any time and jump back into the records and feel confident. So our whole purpose is to help you and support you to get into the records whenever you want, however you want, and allow it to be a useful, literally everyday part of your life. And so we want to teach you the practical things so that you can use it practically instead of just attend a course and then, oh, well, I've got it, but it then just kind of sits on the shelf. So we want to be there for you so that you can use it and be in support of you while you're using it as the questions come up. So.
And also, just so you know, one of the things, some of you know this about us already, but Paul and I are really big into ongoing support. And so when you take the course, we do have a private Facebook page. We have calls scheduled, group calls that people can come and ask questions, and we practice together. So you definitely are not just taking a class and then you're on your own. We love to support people on an ongoing basis. Paul has popped in the link to the course if you're interested in discovering more about it and seeing if it's the right timing for you on all levels, into the Zoom chat and also into the YouTube chat
and the Facebook
group. So everywhere has the link if you want. You can pay it in one payment. If you're using PayPal, they do allow you to make 6 payments if that makes it easier for you. And if you have any last minute what if I can't open my Akashic records? So if you just did this experience with us today and you followed along and you read the invocation, you were in your Akashic records.
Yeah.
Okay. You were in your Akashic records. So you can trust that. And so what you want to do now is just be able to go in enough to start discovering how you receive information and how to utilize it, because everyone can open their Akashic records.
And that little link that I just popped in the chat, usually when we finish Zoom, the Zoom just closes and you go, oh, where's the link? So I would just suggest just tap it now and it brings it up in your browser, and then you can jump back into your Zoom window. So then you've got it, because so many times, if the chat and the Zoom just closes, like, oh, where was that link? What was it? And so it just as a heads up, if you click on it now, then you've already got it in your browser, and then you can come back to it later.
Yeah. And so we know that we're at the end of our time, and out of respect for everyone's time on their day, we will be ending. But if you have any ongoing questions, please ask. Again, the class starts next weekend. You're welcome to join us if this feels the right time for you. If it doesn't feel like the right time for you, we're going to be doing it again. We don't have it on our calendar yet, but we definitely will be doing it again. And again, we want to just be able to respond to your questions, so you can feel free. If we're on Facebook, you can message us there. If you're on YouTube, you can message us there. And if you're here on Zoom, just reach out to us. And again, at hello@soul-genesis.com, and you can send us your emails, and we'll be happy to get back to you.
And if you have any payment concerns or anything like that, or not sure how to do it, if you want, then just reach out to us again, and we can work with you on that.
Yes. So thank you so much for your time and your energy and your presence. I love the energy of a group that gathers. It uplifts all of us, and us discovering our light, our truth, and living it. That is what we're here to do, and being able to trust that, we are beautiful, and we're here, and we want to shine our light and feel good about ourselves. I know I'm raising my hand for that. Spent a lot of years working on it. I'm still a work in progress, but I'm way better than I used to be. And this is what we're here to discover. And so once again, thank you so much. And we look forward to connecting with you again soon. Take care, everyone.
Love and
Love you
blessings.
all.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. See you next weekend.
Thank you.
Oh, yay.